Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Belgium once again, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from a brewery that are actually very highly rated. These guys apparently were one of the first of the new wave of microbreweries in Belgium that started in the late 70s, early 1980s actually. Very highly rated brewery, and this particular beer is supposed to be pretty damn good as well, but it's another brewery I've just never managed to try anything from yet, so let's see how we get on. So for this review we are going to go to Wallonia, Wallonie, however you want to call it, the French-speaking region of Belgium, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Rocs. So this one is the Abbaye de Roc Brune, and it comes in at 9% ABV. So I'm guessing that this beer, probably the best way to describe this one stylistically will be a Belgian strong dark ale. I'm not sure if you can technically call this a quadruple. It says it's 9% ABV, and usually a quadruple is at least like 10.5, something like that. So we'll stick with dark Belgian strong ale for the moment, and I'm sure it will be a good beer. It's very, very highly rated, this one, and you know, I always say take beer ratings and stuff like that with a pinch of salt. This one has 99 overall, and I think 100 within the style, if I remember correctly. Either that or the other way around, but a very highly rated beer nonetheless, and a brewery that I've heard a lot of people talking about. So I really hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and I will apologise in advance for any bad French pronunciations in this video, because yeah, it's been 10 years since I did French at school, and I've forgotten quite a lot of how to pronounce things. So some of you guys watching in France or Belgium might be horrified at some of these pronunciations, but we'll go with it anyway. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc. Very first time I'm tasting one of their beers, of course. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. There are also playlists of beers there from the different countries, so make sure you check out the Belgian list that's there if that's what you're interested in. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc. I'm going to get sick of saying that by the end of the video. But anyway, this brewery can be found in Montignies-sur-Roc in Honnelles in Hainaut province in Belgium, which is actually very close to Mons, which is probably the closest big city, and very close to the French border as well. Valenciennes is the closest French city as well. But it takes its name, of course, from the local abbey, as the word Abbaye would suggest. But the company was founded back in 1979 by Jean-Pierre Eloire and his wife Marie-Jeanne Berriot. And this makes it actually one of the first, if not the first, in the new wave of microbreweries in Belgium. I'm sure it said that De Dole had come along a year later, and also Schuffe, I think, had come along in 1982 or something like that. So I believe that these guys are actually the very first of the new wave of microbreweries that popped up in Belgium. But apparently this new wave of microbreweries in Belgium came around because the government changed the customs and excise law, and this actually allowed the production of beer in batches as small as 80 litres. But this brewery started off very small, and Jean-Pierre was still working in the land registry while Marie-Jeanne continued to work as an educational speech therapist while they were getting the company up and running. But Jean-Pierre learned the brewing trade from books and practice, while Marie-Jeanne had a background in brewing that she inherited from her father, who'd brewed both in Belgium and in France. But the pair grew the brewery over the next couple of years, and they also began to export their beer to places like Italy, Scotland, England and America as well. But then they passed the brewery on to their daughter Nathalie Eloire, who still runs it today, along with her husband Georges Levesque. But Natalie is a qualified brewer. She also has a degree in architectural engineering, while George's background is in IT. But today the brewery are producing around 850,000 litres of beer per year, and they've produced a total of 34 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. But they're particularly known for the Abbaye de Roc range, the Blanche de Honnelles, and also the Montagnarde beers, or Montagnarde, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And apparently that is the sort of pet name for people who come from Montignies-sur-Roc. So that's that's what that beer is named after. They also have a cafe that's a few kilometres away from the brewery, which is in the next to the old watermill, and the brewery itself is actually located apparently just, you know, about 100 metres or so from the French border or something like this. But as I said, it's a very kind of well respected brewery, this one, from what I gather, the first of the new wave of microbreweries in Belgium, and their beers are supposed to be pretty damn good. One of the breweries that I've wanted to review for quite a while but just haven't got around to. But as I said earlier, there are numerous breweries in Belgium that are like that I need to make sure I review something from. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc. I hope my French pronunciation wasn't too bad in that little history segment, but if you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can have a little look at the Rate Beer and Untappd pages if you're interested in all the different beers that they do. I would recommend that you check out beertourism.be as well. That's a very good website when it comes to talking about the history of these different breweries. I quite often use that for my research when it comes to these Belgian breweries. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on the bottle then before we open the beer up. There you can see really kind of nicely presented there. I like how this kind of comes across. It comes across as really sort of old school, actually, kind of old school Belgian, this one. You wouldn't think that this is one of the kind of newer breweries in Belgium, although in fairness there are a number of ones that are very young since the 2000s. I guess it's maybe fair to describe this brewery as being one of the middle-aged ones, I don't know. But there you can see black bottle cap on this one. And yeah, not much else to say about it other than 9% ABV, dark Belgian strong ale by style. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. It didn't actually say too much on the website about this beer, other than the fact that it is a triple fermented beer. Nice little bit of smoke coming out of this one, and that is the thing that you have to watch with Belgian beer sometimes. Because they are bottle fermented, you have to be careful that they don't go crazy when you open them up, and that one wasn't too bad. That's not the worst one I've had. I have had ones that have pretty much exploded, but that wasn't too bad, I have to say. So yeah, as you can see, the carbonation on this one is quite active. There's a few little bits of sediment kind of floating around in this one, but that's kind of what you want. So you could see with this beer, it had a head probably about, you know, a finger or so, finger, 2/3 finger, something like that. It had quite a little bit of that on the top, and I would describe it as a sort of medium kind of beige colour. There's a few bits of sediment really just floating around in this one on the top. It must be very, very kind of thin stuff on this, but as we say, beer is all natural, so there's no real problem with that. I'll just show you that on the camera. You can see little bits of it just floating around there, but I think the carbonation kind of pushed a lot of it up and things, because there's not very much left on the end of the bottle there, but you can see just little bits of it floating around under that head. But the head, incidentally, was a very light sort of beige fawny colour. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but they've faded away. You can see quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. And in terms of colour, if I hold this beer up to the light, this one comes across as it's quite a sort of mahogany, chestnutty colour rather than anything else, to be honest with you. It's quite nice in the way the colour actually comes out of it. But overall, when you consider that this beer is a Belgian brown ale, or Belgian strong dark ale, I guess you would want to say as well, the colour of this beer is not out with the realms of possibility. So overall, it looks pretty much as you would expect, to be honest. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. That smells pretty good, actually. So straight away with this beer, you get that nice doughy, yeasty thing that you expect from Belgian yeast. It's got a lovely sort of brown bready quality to it, this one as well. You can really smell that, and there's a lot of brown sugar to this beer. Some rich caramel in there, a little bit toasted. I don't know if it's quite dark enough to be treacle and molasses, but maybe just a little hint of a kind of treacly molasses kind of thing in there. But lots of kind of sweet, slightly toasted brown sugar, caramel, sort of wafery biscuit type things as well. That's really nice how that goes together. It's almost a little bit nutty as well, definitely some woody and kind of nutty undertones in there. It comes across as being almost a little bit cakey in its flavour as well, or its aroma rather, just a little bit like a kind of boozy Christmas cake or something like that. Quite a few of these dark, strong Belgian beers really remind me of just cake and stuff like that, to be honest. but that comes across really, really nicely. The malty and the yeasty qualities, of course, are what Belgian beer is all about. It's all about the yeast and the big brown and the big sugary malts that you get in Belgium. Sometimes they add candy sugar and things to their beers too, and they do that quite often with tripels. But that's a lovely smelling beer, that. In terms of the hoppy side of things, there's a little touch of earthiness to this one. You'll pick up a little bit of grassiness too, but otherwise not too much from the hops. But there's a lovely kind of complexity of fruit in this one. It does smell a little bit phenolic, a little bit kind of cough syrupy, medicinal kind of thing. You have got a little bit of that in there, but some kind of daty, pruny kind of qualities. Definitely a little bit of a figgy note as well. I don't think it's quite sharp enough to be raisins or even plums, to be honest with you. I think it is more sort of dates and pruny notes. There's a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry thing in there as well. But yeah, it comes across really nicely, this one, in terms of its aroma. It's quite juicy in its fruity qualities, lovely and big and bready and things, a little bit of brown sugar, and quite a bit going on with this one. So yeah, take a bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get in. That one's really nice, kind of a standard aroma as to what you would expect for a Belgian strong dark ale, if you like. So again, appearance wise, aroma wise, nothing overly surprising about this beer, but like I said, this one is very, very highly rated, so hopefully it is quite special when we actually have a taste of it then. So let's do that. This one is the Abbaye de Rocs Brune from Brasserie de l'Abbaye in Montignies-sur-Roc, Honnelles, Hainaut province in Wallonia, sorry, in Belgium. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, Prost, Santé. Yeah, that is really pretty good actually. You know, as I've told you on the channel before, I'm a massive, massive fan of you know, of the stronger Belgian beers. You know, the tripels and the quadrupels, for me, that's what Belgian beer's all about. I do enjoy a blonde as well. The Dubbels and the Bruin beers, yeah, they're alright. I do like my Flanders Reds too. I really like my Flanders Red ales. Those are beautiful. But for me, this is really, really quite nice actually. You do get a few beers, you do get a few breweries like this who will produce a beer that's not strictly an Abbey beer, but you can kind of pick up the same sort of vibe from it. Castile is, Brauerei Castile is another one that kind of comes to mind. I'm sure they're from Flanders, from the Dutch-speaking region, if I remember correctly. But you know, Belgium, of course, dual language country. There's breweries all over the place. You've even got a little German region in the kind of southeast of the country as well. But this is beautiful. This big thumbs up to Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc for this. They've done an awesome job here. Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, the thing that's really striking me about this beer compared to some of the other Belgian ones is just kind of, it's how smooth it is. Because usually, I mean, this one does have a good oily content too as well, but I've always found Belgian beers to be quite big and thick and oily, but this one comes across as really a little bit smooth, which is very, very interesting. But straight away with this beer, you're going to feel that nice brown bready quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you can feel the kind of thicker, doughy, yeasty things, which is what you expect. As I mentioned earlier, Belgian beer tends to be all about the yeast, but this beer really is very, very smooth. And it's one of the dangerous things about these Belgian beers. You know, they're 8, 9, 10%, but they're still pretty easy to drink. They are sippers right enough, but it's one of these ones where you'll drink it, you'll feel fine, you'll stand up, and then you'll be like, oh shit. So yeah, it's kind of, these things hit you a bit later on. But that's a really, really nice beer, this one. I can see exactly why this one has the ratings that it does on Rate Beer and stuff like this. So, you know, Rate Beer has it right for this one. I don't, you know, I always say take Rate Beer with a pinch of salt, but in this case they definitely do. So, for this beer, it really is the smoothness that's striking me about this one. The brown sugars are big and obvious in the aroma, but they're a little bit more subtle, I think, in the flavour. So in the very centre of your palate, you'll notice these kind of big caramelly kind of qualities, and it comes across as a little bit more kind of toasty, to be honest, in the flavour. Yeah, the brown sugars, they really sit in the middle of your tongue, and they give you a little bit of that kind of oily quality. At the same time, you will get a bit of that oiliness that you normally get from Belgian beer in the front of the palate, or in the middle of the palate, sorry. And I would say it does have a little bit of that kind of darker, treacly molasses sort of thing. At the same time, it's a little bit more kind of sweet and caramelly. And it's toasty as well. It really is quite a toasty brown sugar that comes out of this one. If you go to the front corners of your palate then, in a little bit, you'll start to get a little touch of a kind of woody undertone to this beer. I'm not really picking up any nuttiness from this one. I did pick up a little bit of nuttiness in the aroma, but that's, pardon me, not really so present in the actual flavour of this beer. I'm getting a little bit of gas out of this one, but that tends to be the case when you've got Belgian beers, and I don't know how long this one was in the shop for. But yeah, you can really feel a little bit of that nice woody undertone. The further you go into the aftertaste, there are some kind of woody undertones just push their way out of this beer. And yeah, the woodiness I think gets more prominent the more you drink of this beer actually. But yeah, it's kind of, this one, it's one of these beers I think, you can get some Belgian ones that are a little bit more kind of complex than this, right enough, but the thing, as I say, that really strikes me about this one is just how smooth the malt base is, and it's all about how these flavours merge together, and it does that really, really quite well. So yeah, the way that the malty, yeasty side of things goes together here is really nice. On the hoppy side of the beer then, there's not too much of a hoppy presence to this one, but you will get some of these flavours. I mean, in the back corners of the palate there's a little teeny touch of earthiness. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that smooths out and just kind of rolls forward. At the front corners of the palate you get a little bit of a kind of floral note there. It's maybe even a little touch herbally floral. I've always found that Belgian hops, they tend to have they're always like a combination of German noble and English hops. They have a little bit of a, German noble hops of course are very bright and grassy and floral, whereas the English hops are a bit darker and herbal and things, and the Belgian hops kind of meet somewhere in the middle in my experience. So you get a little bit of that herbal kind of floral thing at the front corners of the palate, then round the very front curve of the tongue it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say, but there is still a little bit of that almost slightly herbal kind of quality to the grassiness that this beer has, the kind of typical trademark I think of Belgian hops. Where this beer starts to get a good bit of complexity to it is on the fruity side of things. So as I always say, if you could just go behind the front curve of your palate, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And for me, there's a good bit going on here. It definitely has a little bit, if you go to the back of that oily bubble, you can feel just in front of the kind of bready, doughy, yeasty things, there's almost a bit of a kind of cakey quality to this beer, and definitely the fruitiness that's in here is a little bit kind of phenolic, a little bit kind of cough syrupy, something like that. So that comes out of here in abundance, to be quite honest. But yeah, at the back of the palate you're getting the sort of boozy, plummy notes, dates, prunes, you're getting that kind of thing. But as you come further forward, you maybe start to get a little bit of a raisiny quality to this one. I wasn't picking up raisins in the aroma, it didn't really have the sharpness in the aroma, it was more juicy, but then you get a little bit of a raisiny sharpness in front of that, and just as you move towards the front tip of the tongue, it's a little bit more kind of figgy, blackcurranty, and maybe blackberries as well actually. It's got a nice kind of juicy berryish quality to it, this beer, the further you go into it. But I mean, it's got a really nice level of complexity to it in the fruity side of things, but it's not as complex as some of the other ones that you'll find in the malty, yeasty side of things actually. As I say, that's the kind of quirkiness about this beer, really quite complex in the fruity notes, but a little bit more straight up and smooth, if you like, in the malty, yeasty side of things. So quite unique, but I can definitely see why this beer has the ratings that it does. And I mean, as the first kind of new microbrewery in Belgium, it must be, you know, quite well loved and respected, if you like. So that's another thing to consider about this beer. Little fruit flies, these little teeny things, are annoying. It's what happens during the summer here. But yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things then, I would say This beer is definitely, I think it's at the bottom end of full-bodied, top end of mid-bodied. It's kind of somewhere in that region. The carbonation is quite active in this one, but I think it's calmed down a little bit the more and more that I've drank of the beer. And as I say, it doesn't really affect the kind of smoothness that you're getting out of the malt base and things in this beer. So that's a kind of interesting point to make about this one. So I would say overall the mouthfeel of this one, it is quite smooth, but at the same time it does have a little bit of oily character to it, but definitely one of the smoother high alcohol Belgian beers that I've come across. The malt base, as I said, quite smooth, a little bit of sweetness in the middle of the palate, but a bit of that darker kind of booziness in there too. You will feel a little bit of alcohol warmth out of this one. Nice juicy fruity qualities in there also. And in terms of IBUs and hoppy bitterness, I think you'd be lucky to get about 20 IBUs out of this at most, to be honest with you. Pardon me, still getting a little bit of the gas out of it. You will notice that with some of these beers, you will get a little bit of gas out of them in fairness. But overall, it's a really just very nice beer, this one. A very smooth take on the Belgian strong dark ale. I don't think it's quite sweet enough or high in alcohol enough to be considered like a quadruple or something like that. And obviously these kind of Belgian strong dark ales are kind of based on those old Abbey beers to an extent, but they're kind of separate at the same time. But I mean, overall, we can talk about styles all day, but the main point to take away is that this is a pretty nice beer, and I can see why it does have a good little bit of hype to it. The quirkiness for me of this one is the complexity of the fruits, and also the smooth bready kind of quality that this beer has. It's almost got a little touch of a German kind of tint to it in that sense, if you like. So a really, really interesting beer, this one. Cool to finally get around to reviewing a beer from this brewery, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this as well. So yeah, cool to visit the first of the new wave of microbreweries in Belgium. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. So this one was the Abbaye de Rocs Brune at 9% ABV for Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc in Montignies-sur-Roc, Honnelles, Hainaut province, Wallonia, Belgium. Interesting beer, this one, and definitely one that you want to check out. Hopefully I can review the Blanche de Honnelles at some point. That would be an interesting beer to go, because I've not reviewed too many Belgian Blanche beers actually on the channel, so something that I do need to address at some point. But an interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad I was finally able to review it, so I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on it as well. So until the next time, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brasserie de l'Abbaye de Roc as well, and I'm sure I'll review more Belgian beers for you in the future. I do have a Choufle one that you will see at some point fairly soon too, so we'll visit one of the other kind of new wave microbreweries in Belgium actually. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out this beer, pretty kind of unique and quirky actually. If you like your Belgian dark ales to be nice and fruity, this is one that will definitely hit the notes for you. But until the next time, stand out, skull, Proust, Santé.